and studs! Welcome back, my brick family, to the conclusion of the Back to the Future DeLorean build. Just in case if you forgot what this set is all about, I'll do a very quick recap. This set was released on April 1st, 2022 and weighs in at a total of 1872 pieces, which is probably one of the largest sets that we have built on this channel. Due to this set being so hefty, it cost $170. So as you saw with bag 7, you start off by filling the interior of the car by putting the stick shift and I think some extensions to the flux capacitor. I think that the designers did a great job of incorporating the light brick as it directly hooks up to the flux capacitor, and it will glow when you push down on the activation mechanism. To add to the authenticity, when you build the Back to the Future Part 1 DeLorean, the lightning rod actually attaches right above the flux capacitor, which is a very neat and observant touch that only LEGO designers are able to replicate. Well, that's actually not a fair statement. I'm pretty sure other companies can do it too, but LEGO does such a good job of doing it. One thing of note is with regards to the flux capacitor, I really like how the anchor type piece is used to replicate the three-pronged look of the time machine core in the movies. Once the time-bending unit is installed, you then progress to building the chairs of the DeLorean, then after that you progress to building the console and the dashboard of the car. With the opening of bag 8, you further fill up the interior of the car along with adding the mechanism to open up the gull wing doors on the roof of the car. There are some other decorative bits that you place on the car that I cannot describe to you because, well, I don't remember them being featured prominently in the movie, but for accuracy's sake, the designers of the time machine decided to place them in the car. I will, however, let you know that I screwed up on this part, especially at the end of bag 8 when you're building the two cooling vents, i.e. the two huge black structures that hang on top of the car. I don't know how I built it, but yours truly built it upside down because he obviously wasn't paying attention to what the hell he was doing. So I decided to leave my flub up in the video just to show you that despite how experienced I am building a LEGO set, that mistakes can and always will happen. This is not my first one on the set. In fact, this is sadly my second failure, as my first one is on the hood of the car, which I told you about in part 1. In step 9, you then build the famous gull wings of the DeLorean. I believe that this is the singular most memorable part of the car, which then leads me to say that this is my least favorite part of the build. Why, you may ask? Well, again, for such an important, iconic area in the car, why did the designers feel the need not to have a mechanism to lock the doors in place when the wings are at full extension? I find it frustrating that when you open up the doors, they fall down because of the weight and do not stay open. I really think that this is a missed opportunity that if LEGO decides to redo this car, that they should fix sometime down the road. I guess while we're on the subject of missed points, I'm also slightly saddened that the steering wheel is not functional and it does not steer the car whatsoever, and it's just there to, well, look good. Finally, when you look at that iconic dashboard, they actually put stickers that represent the time traveler circuits on the car. As iconic as this area is on the car, I wish that LEGO did a custom print on the dashboard too. While we are finishing up the tail end of bag 9, we are getting closer and closer to the end, folks. With bag 10, we are filling up the missing details of the car. First of all, we build the top, rear, right, and left quarter panels of the car. What I find really cool about this build is that when you are done, these quarter panels cleverly lock into place by using sort of a hinge mechanism. These quarter panels are also decorated with a bunch of translucent light blue LEGO pieces, which are, I suppose, represent the power and the electricity conduits that surround the outside of the car. I will digress by saying that if someone decides to do an aftermarket LED mod on this car, that it will look absolutely epic if done right. I'm going to sign myself up on the mailing list once I see one. Another thing is that you get to do is to snake rubberized LEGO parts and attach them to various points on the car. I remember in this part of the video that I was telling you about the functionality of some of the parts that we're building on the car, right? Well, when I was putting together the areas that had a very thin attachment area on the side, bottom, and rear of the car, the whole point was to attach these cables to those areas. While I have some time, I'm going to put a small gripe in here too. I wish that LEGO Group would have actually done a pre-printed license plate for the iconic Out of Time license plate instead of doing the, well, sort of a cop-out kind of thing, which is make a sticker out of it, which is quite disappointing to me. Anyway, moving on. Finally, after you are done with those things, you get to build the hoverboard, which is found in Back to the Future Part 2, as well as the case that contains the plutonium that powers the time machine in Back to the Future 1. Here we are in the home stretch, folks. In Bag 11, we finally finished up the car after 6+ long hours, or in your case, 14 odd minutes if you have been watching parts 1 and 2 of the video. You first will put the cooling vents on the back of the car and the rear license plate, which I think is really cool. The designers now give you the option of building which version of the DeLorean that you like the best. We'll first start off with the classic one, minus the goof up that I had with the hood, which I talked about in part 1 as well. You fill out the hood, then progress to building the parts that make Delorean Mark I, well, the Mark I. The coolest part is, again, what I alluded to, the lightning rod that is used to power the DeLorean to get back to 1985 because it's so accurate to the movie. The next option is to build the Delorean Mark II. The hood is completely the same as Mark I, as well as the wheels. However, there is something special about this one. I'll have to say that I had a really fun time building the Mr. Fusion that powers the Flux Capacitor. Seeing the banana in the can reminds me how Doc Brown was shoving those very items inside of Mr. Fusion at the beginning of Back to the Future Part 2. What also blows my mind is the usage of the Cauldron, which mimics something that you would throw stuff and have magic happen. Then with the flick of the red handle, as you saw at the bottom of the car, the DeLorean can now fly. And finally, you get to build the Mark III. The Mark III has the same rear components of Mark II, i.e. Mr. Fusion is in the back, so that part of the build is completely the same. However, Mark III has an interesting attachment on the hood that I actually don't remember what the purpose of that attachment is. I'm sure that someone in the Brick family knows the purpose of the box on the hood, so let me know in the comments section. And then voila, we are done with the build. Overall, I'm very impressed on the size and scale of this model. When I look at it, it has a lot of the same lines that the moving DeLorean has. I think the designers did a great job with this car, and I think this is very well worth the money that was spent on it. Again, I will highlight the main gripe of this build, which is, for the love of God, allow us to fix the gull-wing doors in place the next time Lake Group does it so it does not fall. I also love the hovering mechanism on the car that is the central play element. So Brick family, what was your favorite version of the DeLorean? The one that you found in parts 1, 2, or 3? I'm curious to hear your response, so please leave a comment down below in the comments section. For me, I love the Mark I because it has the best lines. This is Sprues and Studs, and thank you for hanging out until the end, and I will see you all in the next build.